Okay, let's start with the mantra Purnamada. Huh? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnaswa Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishvate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, that is infinite, and this universe is infinite. The infinite proceeds from the infinite. Taking the infinitude of the infinite, it remains as the infinite alone. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto all. Good evening. Good evening to all who have joined online. So, yeah, here we are again. So, as I was visiting, Hari asked me whether I would love to give this class, Isha Upanishad. And incidentally, this is the Upanishad we are studying in Sacramento now. Okay. I'm giving a class on each Friday. So I readily agreed to. And I came to know that you have not started yet. You have just gone through the introduction. So, and there are wonderful books, commentaries. What I shall do is, I shall add my 2 cents. Wonderful commentaries are there, wonderful books. I'm trying to now, I have read these Upanishads earlier several times. This time I'm reading it from a different perspective to make it comprehensible to my American students, how they see it. So the challenge or joy is everything needs to be contextualized for them. And also, I have to show them the practical implication of the verses in our own life. So that's a wonderful thing. I hope to cover first 2 verses. Okay, Ishavasya first 2 verses. Immense. So, as you know, Ishavasya Upanishad is part of Shukla Yajurveda. Yajurveda is one of the Vedas which mostly deal with rituals. Majority of it deals with rituals. But as for each types of Vedas, Rig, Sam, Yayu, Atharva, this also towards the end comes the philosophical part or Upanishads. There are a few Upanishads which are part of Yajurveda. Yajurveda also have 2 divisions within it. Shukla, Krishna. Shukla means white, Krishna means black. Does anybody know why Shukla and Krishna? Okay. Shukla, white and black here means arranged and not so arranged. Okay. Shukla Yajurveda is much more arranged, and Krishna Yajurveda verses, mantras are not so arranged in that sense. Organized, not so organized. Okay. So this is part of Shukla Yajurveda, much more organized. Although, to be frank, Vedas are not so organized. Okay. The interpreters later on, we try to impose organization on them. And that's why we classify them as 4 yogas or portions like mantra, brahmana, aranyaka, upanishads. Inherently, they are not so straightforward classification or divisions because these were not written as such. These were mostly, they started with their wonder with the immensity of nature. Okay, the first part, which we call mantras of the Vedas, are mostly outpouring of the hearts, seeing the immensity of nature. Okay, people were wondering about nature, and these hymns came about. And slowly they found we need to do about something, not only wonder, we should be part of this. Then came rituals. Rituals means offering our sacrifices in the sense of our gratefulness, gratitude to this immense process of life going on. Then came later on, chronologically, not so much into the rituals in themselves, but meditation on them, okay, which we call upasana. Meditation is upasana. So what they did, all those rituals which dominated their life for so many years, then they found internalize these rituals. They tried to meditate about the rituals. For example, one of the yagas is Ashwamedha yaga, okay, where a horse used to be sacrificed. If you look at Vedantic Upanishad, it starts with Ashwamedha yaga, but mentally. Meditation on a horse. Why horse? Because previously they were used to Ashwamedha yaga. Now, with time, their mind became more subtle in the sense they wanted to internalize those rituals instead of physically doing them, trying to meditate them on them. So, and then finally came the philosophical part, or Vedanta, when they started asking deep questions or profound questions about life. What is life? Is there a unity behind what we are seeing, this multiplicity? These questions, and answer about them through stories and through guru disciples conversations, that is Upanishad. This is roughly how Vedas can be organized. So one of those Upanishads is very short, is Isha Upanishad. Isha Upanishad, it is why Isha Upanishad? Because the first word is Ishavasya. So it is called Ishavasya Upanishad, or shorter Isha Upanishad. And this they usually don't recommend at the beginning, because this is one of the most confusing Upanishads. Complex Upanishads, confusing Upanishads. Why? Because most of the words in these Upanishads have contextual meaning. Dictionary meanings won't do any justice. So if you just take a dictionary and try to find meaning of this Upanishad, you won't get any meaning. Okay. Ishavasya Upanishad is so much contextual and complex Upanishad, but very short, only 18 mantras. That's why we need commentaries to understand them. Shankara, Madhva, and others. The problem with commentaries is they sometimes do text torturing. Okay, text torturing in the sense they want to establish, they want to interpret the Upanishads in one particular way. But Upanishads or Vedas never has one singular system of philosophy. There are overlapping philosophies. They discuss many views of the ultimate reality. But at the same time, we cannot do away with the commentaries. Had there not been Shankara, we would not have understood many meanings of the mantras of the Isha Upanishad. Okay, that we shall see. The first mantra is very known mantra, and incidentally, Mahatma Gandhi said that if entire Hindu scriptures, all the Hindu scriptures are lost, but the first mantra of Isha Upanishad remains, then Hinduism will survive. This first mantra of the Isha Upanishad. And we know it. Om Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kimcha jagatyam jagat teno takteno bhunjitha ma gridha kasyasit dhanam. Memorized, some of you, huh? So then chant. Let's chant. Om Ishavasam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagata teno tyakteno bhunjitha ma gridha kasva siddhanam. The meaning is God dwells in everything that exists in this ever-changing universe. Therefore, enjoy by giving up. Do not covet others' wealth. This is my translation. So let's see why it is so. What in most of the cases, Upanishadic mantras or Gita mantras can best be understood if they are split into 4 parts. Most of them contain 4 padas. Okay, 4. First line will contain 2 padas usually, and second line will contain 2 padas. So if we break them down into 4, try to understand each one of them, then try to connect, we'll get a better understanding of the mantra. That we shall do for this. So idam sarvam yat kimcha jagatyam jagat. Idam means this. Sarvam, everything. Yat kimcha, whatever exists. Jagatyam jagat, this changing world. So the word jagat, Sanskrit for world, it has come from the word jag, that is changing, movement, moving. So the word world means jagat. Sanskrit jagat means that which is always changing. From that came. So jagatyam jagat means, here jagat means literally this word, I mean the world as we understood jagat, and jagatyam means ever changing. So in this ever changing world, whatever exists in this ever changing world, that what needs to be done? Ishavasyam. That is Ishavasyam. So Ishavasyam, we shall take first dualistic interpretation of the word Ishavasyam. Madhva, Acharya Madhva did it. Isha Vasyam. Isha means God. Vasyam means dwelling place. This entire universe is, this ever-changing universe, it is dwelling place of God. Okay. That means God is the one who does not change. In this changing world, there is unchanging reality, that is God. And God exists in this universe as an immanent reality. Okay. God resides here as immanent. God has become this world. Okay. And example, just as salt can be found in water. Salt can melt into water, as salt exists in salty water. So God exists everywhere in the universe. This is the dualistic interpretation. Or God, as it were, this universe is the temple of God. Okay. Both versions are dualistic. God exists means there is world, there is God. God is also there, world is also there. God has become this world. That means there is world also, God also. Both the realities. That is why dualistic. That is Ramanuja's interpretation. Okay. That is qualified non-dualism. God has become this world. There is world and also God. And Madhva says that this world is like dwelling place of God. Means you and your house. You are not your house, but you dwell in this house. This house belongs to God. So this world belongs to God. Shankara, how did Shankara's interpretation? Isha Avasyam. Because of the Sanskrit, Ishavasyam, it could be also split as Isha Avasyam. Avasyam means, he says, Achhaditavyam, to be covered. This changing universe should be covered with God. What does it mean? He says God, Brahman, the ultimate reality, is also the same reality, what we call Atman, Isha, who is inner controller, who is controlling our mind, intellect. The same reality which we call Brahman, same reality essentially is within all of us. So, and he starts like that. And God, that is Isha, and our inner controller, the Antaryami, are one and the same essentially. With that Isha, Avasyam, to be covered. So what does it mean? The world of name and form should be covered with the reality called Brahman or Isha or God. That is, the multiplicity that we see is to be replaced with unity. So we have to discover, as it were, unity, the underlying unity of the universe is covered with this ever-changing name and form. We have to, as it were, discover, remove the covering of name and form and try to see the unity, essential unity that runs through the universe. So Shankara gives an example. As the fragrance in sandalwood remains hidden, it comes out only when rubbed. Okay, so at first sandalwood does not smells as, but when we rub it, after some time the smell comes out. In the same way, this unity, that Isha, is as it were hidden in this multiplicity. We have to discover it. How? Upanishad does not say. Upanishad is reticent about all those things. They thought, oh, they would know how to do it. We experienced it, they also know it, how to do it. Okay. So the method of Vedanta is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. First hear about this and try to have a working conviction that it is possible, since the Upanishads are telling and so many realized people are saying this, maybe, and with the help of logic, it appears there may be an unity in this multiplicity. Shravana, Manana, then try to remove all the doubts. There will always doubts that how it could be. It is, we are seeing multiplicity and Upanishad is saying about unity. So these doubts are called Viparita Bhavana. So these Viparita Bhavanas need to be properly argumented, okay, with reflections, that is called Manana. And finally, have direct experience of the reality, Aparaksha Anubhuti, direct transcendental experience that there is only one reality through sustained Vedantic meditation, which is called Nididhyasana. And this is the goal of Jnana Yoga. What is the goal of Jnana Yoga? Sarva Atma Bhava. Sarvatma Bhava. Okay. Goal of Jnana Yoga is Sarva Atma Bhava. That is seeing, realizing oneness with the entire existence. That I am one with entire existence. This experience, this oneness is called Sarva Atma Bhava. And that is the goal of Jnana Yoga. That is what in all the Upanishads will be speaking again and again. Aham, Ayam Atma Brahma, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. All these point to this fact that yes, there is immensity, what it means to me. So according to the Upanishads, according to the school of Jnana Yoga, the problem is this, that we are mistaking ourselves as finite, limited being. We are thinking we are only this body, mind, and whatever is within this skin. From that limitedness comes the sense of incompleteness. I am limited. I am not full. I need things to be fulfilled. That can be solved according to the Upanishads and path of Jnana Yoga only through the experience that I am infinite. I am not this limited thing. Sarva Atma Bhava. Later on, this Upanishad will say in verse number 4, one who sees oneness with the entire universe, that person cannot hate anybody. In 5th verse, it will say, one who has found oneness with the entire existence, for such a person, ka moha, ka shoka. Where is ignorance? Where is incompleteness? One who has seen this oneness. Okay, so this is the crux of the Upanishads. Trying to convey this point, go beyond your sense of limitedness and try to find oneness with entire existence. Oneness with entire existence is the goal of Jnana Yoga and Upanishads. Incidentally, recently I read a book called The Awakened Brain by Lisa Miller of Columbia University. So she and her colleagues do wonderful research on spirituality. And also, this is the first time a Ivy League college has started a center called Mind, Body, Spirit under her leadership. So she, over many decades, she is doing research on spirituality. So she and her colleagues did a research. They took participants, 5,000 participants from major religions of the world and interviewed them and tried to find out, are there common themes in the major religions of the world? What are the common themes that is we can find in the major religions of the world? So they found that 5 themes can be found in the religions of the world. First is altruism. Then love of your neighbor as yourself. Third, a practice of sacred transcendence. Fourth, adherence to moral code. Fifth, sense of oneness. Sense of oneness. In some religions or even mystical religions ultimately speak of this idea of a sense of oneness. That is what Upanishad is also speaking here. Ishavasya idam sarvam. So through our physical eyes, we are seeing the multiplicity. You are different, I am different, Anand is different, Hari is different from each other. But through the eye of wisdom, can we see this oneness? With physical eyes, we shall see the multiplicity. But through the eye of wisdom, spiritual eyes, can we find the oneness? That is the question or challenge Upanishad is placing before us. How it happens? Yes, we can see that until we find examples. Sri Ramakrishna's description of his spiritual realization. I am reading it out. Try to see the fun. So I'm quoting. Sri Ramakrishna says, the Divine Mother revealed to me in the Kali temple that it was she who had become everything. She showed me that everything was full of consciousness. The image was consciousness. The altar was consciousness. The water vessels were consciousness. The door sill was consciousness. The marble floor was consciousness. All was consciousness. I found everything inside the room soaked, as it were, in the bliss of Satchidananda. I clearly perceived that the Divine Mother herself had become everything, even the cat. So that is what Shankaracharya Upanishad is seeing the one God everywhere, and consciousness, as well as, do you see, he's also seeing Divine Mother. Mother, she's seeing Mother as well as consciousness. Okay. Very soon we shall come to Madhva's interpretation. Madhva said, God dwells. Madhva does not talk about that unitive consciousness. But Sri Ramakrishna's experience, we find, he sees everything is soaked in consciousness, as well as he also sees Kali the Mother. So in experience, there is no differences. When they try to speak, the problem becomes dualistic, non-dualistic, all semantic. all matter of semantical differences. Yes, you had a question? Yes.
Did Aurobindo Ghosh also have similar experience when he was in jail that at one point
everything was conscious? Yeah. Yes, I read somewhere. I did not read it in full, but vaguely I remembered that. Incidentally, he also had a commentary on Isha Upanishad. Okay, I have not read it. Yes, that, of course, many people, Swamiji had that kind of experience in US, at least 3 times recorded. One is in Chicago, while walking around by the Lake Michigan. He suddenly felt everything is consciousness. Okay. Of course, in India, he had, when Sri Ramakrishna first touched him, he had that consciousness. Then once he went into that kind of samadhi, and that experience remained for several days with him. So we can understand what the Upanishad is trying to hint only when we read the life of mystics, oneness. Even Rumi and Meister Eckhart, I was reading, all are speaking about this one unity experience, being one. So some is saying that being one with God, some is saying being one with everything, being one with the universal mind. So words differ, but sense of oneness, sarva atma bhava, that is what Ishavasya idam sarva, that is what relating to. Then the second part is, second line of this universe, teno tyakteno bhunjita ma gridha kasyasit dhanam. Madhva's dualistic interpretation, interesting. He says, teno takteno. Teno means God. Takteno means given. Whatever has been given by God, bhunjita, enjoy that. Whatever has been given by God to you, enjoy that. Ma gridho, do not desire beyond what God has given to you. That is, don't be greedy more than what has been given to you. Then kasyasit dhanam, what can be yours? That is, what material wealth did you bring with yourself? Everything has been given by God, and whatever has been given by God, whatever you have received, try to be happy and content with that, but with a sense of trusteeship. I am not owner. God has given it, so I am trustee. I am trustee of it. I should to take care of it. I try to be content with it. and you are trustee of God's wealth. That is Madhya's interpretation, that teno takteno bhunjita. Bhunjita, he takes in the literal meaning, enjoy, be happy with teno takteno, whatever has been given by Isha, God. And magidha kassa siddhanam. Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. Kassa siddhanam. Whose wealth it is. Ultimately, all wealth belongs to God. He is a devotee of Vishnu. he will come explain every verse that way. Everything has been given by Vishnu, the God. So whose wealth ultimately it is? And Shankara's interpretation, it is a bit, I find, stretched. A bit stretched. He says, Bhunjita is protect. Protect that knowledge. Which knowledge? Which has been spoken of in the first line. What knowledge? That Ishavasya idam sarvam. That everything is God. Multiplicity is only appearance. Protect this knowledge. How? By giving up. That is, by renouncing everything. He says, first verse is for the ascetics. For the ascetics. Since everything is God, try to protect this knowledge. Try to nurture this knowledge. How? Only way of, according to Shankara, nurturing this knowledge is through renunciation. Ascetics. He said first verse is for the ascetics. Those who cannot do that, for them is the next verse. Next verse is kurvan neveho karmani jijibishet satam sama. By doing work alone, try to live 100 years. So there he says, work means rituals. So those who cannot take the life of asceticism, they should be content with doing ritualistic work. It was okay at that time. Now nobody does rituals. Nobody does rituals. So try to be content. The more you want, Shankara says, the more unhappy you are. So do not. So try to enjoy by being content. Try to give up. Try to renounce everything and protect. Or protect means here, try to cultivate that knowledge. So according to Shankara, to have that vision that God is everywhere, Ishavasya, that everything has to be covered with this unitary vision, it is only possible through renunciation. It is possible only for the ascetics. And magvidha kasasi dhanam. Do not covet the wealth of others, or, he says, or whose wealth is anyway. Kasasi dhanam is a question mark. From a broader perspective, is there anything in wealth? If everything is God, and whatever we are seeing is name and form, which is an apparent reality. Kasasi dhanam. What is there in wealth? That also is a apparent reality. So two interpretation of the verse. Non-dualistic interpretation is this: the creation with all its multiplicity needs to be seen as one spirit through the eye of wisdom. Through physical eye, we shall see multiplicity, but through this eye of wisdom, which is a life's work, lifetime's work, to gain that eye of wisdom, we will be able to see that unitary one spirit everywhere, and protect and nurture that unitary knowledge by giving up. If everything in this creation is one spirit, why aspire for material wealth? This is Shankara's interpretation. And Shankaracharya says that this mantra is for the ascetics, and this next mantra is for the lay people. And dualistic interpretation of the mantra: God resides in the entire universe as salt in water, or God in temple. Enjoy whatever has been given to you by God and be content. Do not covet the wealth of others which has not which God has not given to you. So common in both interpretations, try to see the divine in everything. Try to spiritualize your world. The world, mundane world, try to spiritualize it whatever way. If you like personal God, try to see that this is God's dwelling place, or God has become this universe. Okay. Or there is only one consciousness which is now appearing as name and form. That is the first message. Second message is don't be greedy. Be content with whatever you have. Okay. So in the first mantra, we see two yogas, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. If we take it Shankara's interpretation, everything we need to know about Jnana Yoga is spoken of here. Or if we see at Madhya's interpretation, it's Bhakti Yoga. Try to see God, try to see the entire manifestation as God's own manifestation, and also lead a disciplined life. Don't covet more than what God has given you. And the second verse is about Karma Yoga. Okay. Should we go? Or 1 hour we have spent? Oh, half an hour. Okay. Okay. Good. Mantra 2. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So second mantra has to be understood in the light of first mantra. And second mantra can best be understood with a few verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So let's see. First I shall read out, then we shall chant. Kurvan eveha karmani jiji vishet shatam samaha evam tvai nannathe tosti na karma lippate nare. Kurvan eveha karmani jijivishet satam samaha evam tvai nanathetosthi na karma lipyate nare. Okay, the meaning is, simple meaning, by doing work indeed should one wish to live here for 100 years. If you live thus, work won't bind you. There is no other way than this. So first mantra, let us remember, God has become everything. That the first line of the mantra, and with that we can understand the second verse better. So Karma Yoga is implied in the second verse. Shatam Samaha. Shatam Samaha means 100 years. So it appears 100 years was the time frame. At Vedic period, they aspired to live 100 years, the standard, or it was the standard life span of people. We don't know. So, and 100 years, what does it mean? Only 100 years, only living 100 years. No, a meaningful life, a meaningful 100 years. Okay. When the mantra says that by doing work alone, one should aspire to live 100 years. That is, it implies not 100 years just like anything. If you want to live 100 years, that to meaningful, you have to do work. Okay. Gigi Vished should wish to live. That is a meaningful life. If you want to live 100 meaningful years, then Kurvan Eveho Karmani, by doing work indeed. That is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, 5. Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tishtati akarmakit. Karyate havashehi karma sarva prakriti jaikunehi. So, indeed, no one can ever remain without action, even for a moment, because everyone is helplessly made to do action by the gunas born of nature.
This is what it is.
Bhagavad Gita.
I know.
Hmm.
Which one?
3.5. Okay. Nahi kaschit shanamapi. So we know the idea of gunas, right? Gunas, the entire nature, including our mind, is made up of three gunas: sattva, raja, and tama. Sattva expresses as lightness, illumination, peace; rajas as activity, and tamas as dullness. So since rajas is everywhere, rajas is in us, we cannot ever be without rajas. So we cannot but do work. Cannot but, so that is Bhagavad Gita is saying here. We cannot avoid activity. Even thinking is an activity. Thinking is an activity. And then Bhagavad Gita 3.8 says, Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Karma jyayo hi akarmanah. Sharira yatra picha tena prasiddhet akarmanah. So action is superior to inaction, because idle mind is devil's workshop, and without doing work you cannot even live. To even maintain your body you need to do work. Eating is a work. Okay, so without question, that's why niyatam kuru karmatam, you should do, always do your duties. But that is known to all of us. What is so special about it? That to live 100 years, we have to work. What is so special about it? It is anybody's guess, obvious. How this work is to be done? So mantra number 1. God is everything. God exists everywhere. God has become everything, right? Or from dualistic standpoint, we are all children of God. Okay. So try to see life, all the resources that we have, as a gift from God, and we are all interconnected. We are interconnected either as children of the same God, or we are interconnected as Atma, Brahma. Essentially, we are all one. So since we are all one, interconnected, children of God, we should try to relate our actions with a larger purpose. What is that? If I am only thinking about my own well-being, I am shrinking my horizon. Okay. If I am cutting off the fact that we are all interconnected as children of God, or as the same one Brahman, or one Atma, one Isha, then what we are doing, we are shrinking our horizon only to ourselves. So the meaningful life will be to act with this universal, inclusive outlook. That is, how can we connect our work with a greater purpose? Okay, so try to live meaningfully. 100 years means the work, how can we connect with a greater purpose? Okay, and this greater purpose, according to the Upanishad, is try to serve God. Then if everything is God, try to serve God. That is karma yoga. Okay, so two basics, that is karma yoga, and it can be done in two basic ways. One is work as worship. That is, whatever I am doing is an offering to God. No matter whatever I am doing, I am trying to think, imagine that it is offering to God. And whatever the fruits of my act, whatever results I am getting, as a prasad, prasad from God. Okay, we go to temples with, sometimes, I have gone with, say, banana, apples, sweets, laddu offered. but in return I may get a coconut. Does not it happen in big temples? So when I am offering the work, I am trying to give my best. But whatever is coming from God, take it as prasad. Okay. Try to be happy with that. A gift from God. And it also means I might have many skills, certain skills. So can I think about those skills as gift from God? Because first mantra, everything has come from God. Okay, even the skills. So can I use this skill as in the spirit of worshiping God? That the skills which I have is a gift from God. How can I utilize these skills in service of God? That is God in others, also God, my personal God. So not being boastful about the skills I have, take them as gift from God, that the skills we have got and how we can utilize them. So that is Madhva's commentary, work as worship, karma yoga. So if you want to live 100 years and that too meaningfully, try to do your work as worship to God. Try to offer whatever you are doing as a offering to God, and whatever the results are, take it as prasad, sacrament from God, and try to look upon your skills or resources that you have been given by God, and how best you can utilize them in service of God, God in others, karma yoga. And second way of karma yoga we find in the Bhagavad Gita as a cosmic offering, the concept of yajna, that a cycle is going on, a world order is going on. Okay, for example, you are in a university, right? So a system is going on and everybody is contributing. If I don't contribute, the system will collapse. The same way, how can I, what can I do, what can I contribute to maintain this cosmic cycle that is going on? For example, Bhagavad Gita gives one examples. Interesting, 3.14. Annat bhavati bhutani, paryannat anna sambhavaha, yagyat bhavati paryanno, yagyaha karma samudbhavaha. We depend on food. Food depends on rainwater. Rain depends on harmony in nature. The harmony in nature depends upon our actions. Okay, harmony in nature. That is the definition of yoga. Harmony in nature. And we know now that how we are, our not doing the right thing is disturbing these cycles, harmony and nature. So rain is delayed or too much of rain. No rain, too much of rain. All we are doing. So in that way, that to maintain this harmony in creation, I am doing my part. Whatever role, responsibility, social role I am into, I am doing it as my offering, my contribution to maintain this cosmic cycle. That is a greater purpose, not my only own well-being, for the well-being of all. If you can do that, evam tai nare na karma lipyate. That is, if you can work like this, work won't bind you. Okay, how work won't bind you? How does work bind? We can think of this way. I think this way. Two ways work can be bondage. One is producing anxiety. If I am always thinking about my well-being, whether I can do it or I will be successful, and that create anxiety. How, and which which is called default mode network of the brain. If we are always thinking about ourselves, within ourselves, then these anxieties are natural. These what do you call, rumination, or same thought again and again, whether it will be perfect, whether it will be successful, it is a bondage. But they say psychological research shows that if we can connect our job, work with a greater purpose, that I am serving, that's why they say, want to get rid of anxiety, volunteer. Volunteer. Why? Because at that time you are not thinking about yourself, what I will get in it. How it is happening? Because you are connecting your work with a greater purpose. Okay. So, and Upanishad here is telling is this greater purpose, what can be? Seeing God everywhere, serving God in others. That is a greater purpose. If we can do that, we can break this bondage of anxiety. And not only a great purpose, but a spiritual purpose. Try to serve God everywhere. Another problem, how work binds us? Boredom. Boredom, same work we are doing again and again, which does not require much of our skill. It's not challenging enough. How we can do that? There is a story. Story is John Kennedy, when he went to NASA in 1961 headquarters, he saw that a janitor carrying a broom. So he asked, what are you doing? The janitor said, well, Mr. President, I am helping to put a man on the moon. It's a fact. It's a fact. And it has been found that, very demanding jobs, or jobs which don't require much intellectual skill, like cleaning hospitals and things like that, when those same people who were finding their jobs boring, if they can connect it to a greater purpose, that if I can keep my word clean, that so many people, it will help so many patients in so many ways, then the same boring job became very meaningful for them. Okay, so boring job can be made meaningful this way, if we can connect to a greater purpose. And according to Upanishad, since God has become everything, every action can be elevated to a great purpose. So that is one way of thinking of how work binds us. One is anxiety and sense of boredom. Okay, both of them can be avoided if we can connect them to a greater purpose. And this greater purpose, according to the Upanishad, is try to serve God. Since God has become everything, can you, as a sadhak, of course, it is a lifetime's work, but as a practice, if you can do that, that is karma yoga. Okay, first verse was about bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, and disciplining of life. This is karma yoga. Okay, na annatha asti. There is no other way to go beyond the bondage of work. So if you want to live 100 years meaningfully, do work as a contribution. There is no other way. And according to Isha Upanishad, the only way to live meaningfully is to serve the world as manifestation of God. That is an exalted way of living. And interestingly, it is being now found that every human being has an innate urge to connect with a higher reality, has innate urge from the very childhood. I don't know, that book explores the subject very much, the awakened brain. So the Lisa Miller, she showed through her research study a breakthrough. She said that everybody of us has an innate urge to connect with a higher reality. And when that channel is not traveled, when that channel is not accessed, it might express as existential angst like depression, free floating anxieties. She showed it through brain scans. She showed that those brain areas which are thick, strong for people who say that spirituality is meaningful for them, spirituality is priority for them, those same areas, same brain areas are shrunken in depressed people. So she concludes that spirituality or spiritual urge and depression are two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. If our spiritual urge does not get fulfilled and we don't know how to connect with a higher reality, and that too, she says the crucial period is adolescent and early adulthood. If we can intervene at that time and give the person a spiritual outlet, the way to connect with a higher reality, she showed is the greatest intervention. Success rate is 80%. 80% success rate of this intervention. She did it with people who are high risk for depression. That is, depression runs in their genes. And she did spiritual intervention for those adolescents and showed that in twin studies, there's those who could connect to higher reality or could get a spiritual outlet, they were shielded from depression. Okay, so there is innate urge in us in higher reality, and if that higher reality is sacred, like God, it is all the better. And that is what Isha Upanishad is telling us, that if you want to live a meaningful life, 100 years of meaningful life, and that work is unavoidable, then can we do our work which connects this work to a higher purpose, a sacred purpose, and in the service of a higher reality? It is karma yoga. And to be honest, although Upanishads say there is no other way, that is not true. That is not true. And we know that. Any attitude method which can help us to connect our work with the greater purpose is a valid way. For example, seeing interconnectedness of things, or seeing harmony in things. Okay, many people find meaning in them, and they do a lot of work, unselfish work, and that gives them meaning. But Upanishad, Upanishad will always say like that there is no other way. That means that this is one of the best ways, what I am telling. It is called eulogy, Arthavada. So, and Shankara's commentary, which is I found narrow, he said, the purport of the first mantra was, after renouncing all desires, the knower of self should save themselves by devotion to true knowledge. And the second verse is meant for the rest who, not being knowers of self, are unable to realize the truth. So if they should desire to live 100 years, they should live only by performing rituals such as yajnas. And according to Shankara, work means here only rituals. And so the first verse was for renouncing monk, all renouncing monks, and second verse was for householders. This is Shankara's interpretation. So the takeaway from first and second mantras: try to see the divine presence everywhere. Try to spiritualize your world. Number two, don't be greedy. Be content with whatever you have. Third, to live a meaningful life, try to connect your work with a greater purpose. And fourth is that greater purpose is try to serve the society, community as manifestation of God. So we see these two verses, in them we find Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, as well as Karma Yoga. And the next verse will say that what happens to them who do not take this route. Okay. Asurya namate lokan andheno tamasavitaha tamste pretta vigachanti yeke chatmo hanojana. A wonderful word, atmo hanojana. Atmo hanojana is like spiritual suicide. Those who commit spiritual suicide, they continue to live in darkness. Darkness means a spiritual darkness. That is, people who are materialistic, who never ever consider the spiritual aspect of their dimension. They continue to live in darkness, a spiritual darkness. That is, first mantra was Bhakti Yoga or Jnana Yoga, second mantra Karma Yoga, third mantra no yoga. No yoga for materialists. Okay, those who not at all take care of their spiritual dimension of the life. So Upanishad condemns them. Then a mantra 4 to 8 speaks about Atman. And whenever we will be reading 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, these are all pointers about Atma, about self. And through different words, the Upanishad will try to give a hint about Atma, which ultimately is ineffable. Just like Bhakti, Narada Bhakti Sutra, which is ineffable, all Narada said were pointers. So also Atma, what Atma is, ineffable. But Upanishad will give us many pointers in the 4 verses. And when we shall read those 5 verses, 4 to 8, we have to always keep in mind the first mantra. Okay, that this Atma is nothing but the Isha. Okay, God is here, suddenly has become Atma, my own self. Okay, so how Upanishad will speak, because it is ineffable, in the language of paradox. Ane jade kam manasa javiya nainan deva apnuban purvamarshat. It does not move, but it runs faster than everything. Okay, the senses cannot reach it, because senses reach and the senses find it, it is already present. Then it is nearer than the nearest, farther than the farthest. How? Because these paradoxes are pointers to a fact that Atma is all pervading. That's why it does not move. Because if there is only one pervading thing, there is no movement. But at the same time, wherever mind goes, Atma is always present. Okay, always present. So this with these paradoxes, it will speak about or give hint about Atma. Exciting. That you shall read. Okay. So I conclude here. Huh? If anybody has any question or something to add, please go ahead.
This Upanishad doesn't talk about the detached one.
Okay, the question is, if you have any question. The question he asked is, does this Upanishad recommend unattached work, right? Anasakti. No, it does not. But it hints doing work as a service is anasakti only. Okay, anasakti. Yes, Kunalda.
I know we are not doing it, but you said 4 to 8 describes Atman. For example, it runs faster and etc. But all of that is definitely non-Dvaita, non-Visheta. So Madhva has also given interpretation for all of them.
All of them.
Symbolic.
Yes. Madhva, that is interesting to see how Madhva
We'll pull that.
also did text torturing there.
Because that sounds very much Advaita.
Non-dual, yeah. He always brought Vishnu in all of them. Okay.
Vishnu is everywhere.
For example, this next mantra, Andham tama pravishanti, no, asuya namate lokan andheno tamasapita. Yeke chatmu hanajana. Those who commit spiritual suicide. Okay. He says those who don't worship Vishnu. No. Our Riddhas, no. 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 Those who don't worship Vishnu, they don't know. Yes, Skanda.
My question is, what do Shankara, Madhva, and Ramanuja actually agree on? Like, what's the...
Yes, they agree on many things. That there is a spiritual reality. We are not only body mind. There is a spiritual reality which transcends body mind. Okay. There is an ultimate reality. Okay. Now, the nature of the ultimate reality, they also agree. The relationship with that ultimate reality. Okay. Whether it is essentially we are different, we can never be as God, Dvaitva. And Ramanuja says, no, we are part of God. Okay. Part of God. That is, essentially we are same, but God is whole, we are the parts. So we are, say, sparks, God is the flame. So essentially flame and fire, the flame and the sparks both have essentially the fire, but we can never be God. And Shankara says essence only matters. Essentially, God is fire, I am fire means I am God. Okay. Yes, please.
So there is a jump in, according to you, there is a jump in Shankara. Because if Shankara says in number one, that everything is permeated with reality or whatever, instead of the Madhvik saying that God is everywhere. According to Vivekananda, the second would make a perfect sense. The second sloka will then say, the only way people, the naras, the humans will not be attached is by recognizing that if there is no reality, you cannot be selfish. The only way you can exist is by recognizing that I and everyone else
Are connected.
So there is such a big scope of going into pure karma yoga from Advaita, like Swami did practical Vedanta. But Shankara did not think of that, and Madhva and Ramanuja went the other way, that, oh, it's a God's service.
Yeah.
So that I understand. God's service, work is worship. But there was this other thing, and it had to wait 800 what? 1200 years for Vivekananda to come.
Yeah. Shankara had to establish his non-dual.
But it would not have been lost. That would
Yeah.
have been such a simple thing.
Right.
Swami did a simple thing.
No, but that was exactly before Swami
Yes,
said,
yes,
I
yes.
know.
Yes.
There was no such thing. Serve others, because that follows from Advaita.
Exactly. It was for Shankara, it was a philosophical necessity for him to do that. Philosophical necessity to establish his school. He would have to show the superiority of Jnana Yoga over all other yogas.
And it had to be an intellectual pursuit, no practical something. All of this doing yoga is doing yajanas is such a stupid thing to do.
Yeah, he says you are not fit for Jnana, so 100 years you do rituals.
I feel that you cannot be Karma Yogi without having some essence of Jnana Yoga in you, because if you couldn't have a little bit of Vairagya and driven by that Vivek and knowledge,
Right.
you could not be Karma Yogi.
Totally. I see them, like this. When we speak like this is karma, jnana, bhakti, raja, but actually all of them become, they are not watertight compartments. Sri Ramakrishna gave a wonderful example that I think that way, that in those days, illiterate housewives used to send the servant to market to fetch things, okay, to run errands. And while sending them, they will say, here are 5 cents for potatoes, 10 cents for rice, because they cannot count, they are giving individually. 5 cents for potato, here are 10 cents for this, another 5 cents for that, and the servant will mix them all up and go and bring the things. So when we are discussing karma yoga, raja yoga, it appears this is 5 cents for rice, 10 cents for, but actually we should be cooking the khichdi with all of this. Everything is connected with each. But Swamiji says that without anything else, only through unselfish work, one can reach the highest. Of course, Gita has support for that. Karman eva hi samsiddham janakadayah. Okay, by doing work alone and without being asakta, that is, one can still get it. Yes.
In Narada Sutra, you said how to get to Parabhakti. You have steps there, the path to get there. In Karma Yoga, you have to do the worship and as an offering to God and accept whatever the God gives you. Are there any steps for that to develop? It's a life's work, but are there any path to develop that?
You want what you were saying is
simple answer to get
no. You are asking, can that also be broken down?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, scripture did not say much about it. They only spoke about the attitude. But one thing that helps, what Swami Brahmanandaji told, that before starting any work, think of God. And while doing, try to think once while doing. At the end of the work, try to think God again, that I did it for you. Even these three will be difficult to do. Sometimes we will remember in the beginning and forget at the middle. Then, but that can be a more workable or things to remember doing karma yoga.
This is just for information. I believe that Swami Atmarupananda, who was here in Houston, he had started to write a very similar to, like he was saying, Naradiya Bhakti Sutra. He was writing a Karma Sutra. So, and they were suttas, and they were small, short things, but each of them had a lot of meaning. So, but I never saw the book. He was just in one of his talks, he was describing the suttas.
Oh.
Succinct rules of the day.
Okay.
Anyway, but
yes. In fact, that is what I am trying to do now.
Oh.
I am reading Karma Yoga of Swamiji's with that eye, that can we just make it points, what Swamiji said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in his 8 lectures about his idea of Karma Yoga.
Without Maharaj, without taking your originality, and I am nobody, I am the smallest of the small like anyone else, I would say that do your thingy, do your
analysis,
write it down, and then just double check with him. He's in France. So
yes.
with him.
Yes. I'll get connected with him. Yes.
Yeah. He was in Houston, isn't it, Maharaj?
Yes. Any question from the online audience? Yes, Anand.
Maharaj, for the rest of the mantras again, are there any groupings? You said 4 to 8 is Atman.
And then 9.
9, there must be a grouping. I have not come across it. I am stuck in 8. When I am in teaching them, I am in 8. So after that, if I say, it will be from the books out there. It's not my understanding yet.
Like a professor smart. When you are teaching a new course,
Hmm.
you may not have finished reading the whole. You have done up to say lecture 14, and you are 80.
Yes, Sonalidi.
No, after hearing all this, I am just seeing more similarity than
Mhm.
with everything I'm seeing. It's
She muted herself.
same thing said in different forms. That and basically yagnas might not be as useless because they still purify your mind.
Hmm.
I mean, it's basically maybe a form of puja in those days.
Mhm.
In today's puja might be similar. I'm not saying exactly equal, but similar to the yagnas of those days. And because all these things, unless we have our mind purified, we cannot even go close to it. And purification means, as far as I've understood, detaching ourselves from the so-called negativity and thinking just about ourselves and all those things. And it's a very big effort, very big effort, whether it's you do yagna or work or all those things. It's a very big effort because it's human tendency to think about themselves. So I don't know. For yagna in those days might be puja. So yeah. And even Adi Shankaracharya, while he was doing all this, he was praying to God and going to temples, establishing temples. I think he was.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is all right, but I did not agree. I don't agree with Shankaracharya says that for you there is no other way
Yeah, you're
than
right.
doing rituals. This is what I don't agree with.
Yeah, you're right.
And he says that this is you are householders, so you have no other way than doing only rituals. This is what I don't agree with. So Shankaracharya's this attitude that jnana is possible only for the ascetics, I don't at all agree with.
Yeah. That is
what I am telling.
Yeah, I agree.
That is why I find narrow.
Yeah, that I agree.
Which is surprising, Maharaj, because Gita, which precedes Shankara,
Hmm.
already talked about there are people who give externally, and then there are people who give
Internally, yes,
and
yes.
he talks a lot about that.
Yes.
Gita is a consolation to householders in some ways.
No.
Yeah, in Gita, in that verse today I was reading, Sannyasa karma yogascha nishreyasha kara ubhau. Sannyasa karma yogacha nishreyasha kara ubhau. And then he says, it is karma yoga is better than sannyas. So how we can say like that? Not only that, all of the teachers in Upanishad who teach Brahma Vidya, who are saying Tattamasi or Aham Brahmasmi, they are all householders. Tattamasi is being, Shetuketu's father is telling Shetu. Anyway, Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.